Welcome to One Story, One Word. In this video, you will fully understand one English word, what it means, and how to use it naturally in real life. We cover everything about this word, grammar, common phrases, and idioms, with clear examples and one real-life story. After this video, you won't need another explanation. Today's word is hesitate. Let me start with a simple question. Have you ever stood in front of a door, your hand near the handle, and you paused for 1 second because you were not sure what would happen next? Last month, I needed to call my manager after work. It was a normal weekday. The office was quiet, and most people had already left. I stayed at my desk because I wanted to finish one small task. But my mind was not on the task. I had a message in my head that I kept repeating. I wanted to ask for 2 days off next week. Nothing dramatic, just 2 days, for a family reason. I had the right to ask, but asking still felt uncomfortable. I opened my phone and found my manager's number. My thumb was near the call button. I looked at the screen. I hesitated. Not for a long time, maybe 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds felt very clear. I put the phone down and looked at my calendar again, as if the calendar could answer for me. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked outside. Cars moved slowly in the evening traffic. I came back to my desk. I picked up the phone again. My thumb moved, then stopped. I hesitated again. I told myself, I will write a message first. So I opened a chat and typed, "Hi, can I talk to you for a minute?" Then I stopped with my finger over the send button. I hesitated. I erased the text. I typed it again. I read it twice. It looked polite. It looked normal. Still, I hesitated. In the end, I sent the message. A minute later, my manager replied, "Sure, call me." I stared at the screen. I took a breath. Then I called. Now let's talk about what hesitate means and how to use it naturally. Hesitate is a verb. When you hesitate, you pause before you do something because you feel unsure, nervous, or not ready yet. It is not a long stop. It is often a small pause, like in the story, when my thumb stopped for a second. In that moment, I wanted to act, but I also felt uncertainty. In the story, I can say, I hesitated before I pressed the call button. That shows the small pause right before the action. A very common pattern is hesitate to plus verb. This means you feel unsure about doing something. For example, I hesitated to call my manager. Another common pattern is hesitate before plus noun or ing. For example, I hesitated before calling. Or, I hesitated before I sent the message. All of these sound natural in real life. We also use hesitate with for and a time to show a short pause. For example, I hesitated for a second. It makes the moment feel real and small, not dramatic. Now let's look at the word family. The verb is hesitate. The noun is hesitation. Hesitation is the feeling or the moment of pausing because you are unsure. In the story, I can say, there was a hesitation before I called. Or, I felt hesitation when I saw the call button. The adjective is hesitant. Hesitant describes a person who is not fully ready to act. In the story, I can say, I was hesitant to call my manager. Or, I sounded hesitant when I started the call. There is also an adverb, hesitantly. Hesitantly describes how someone does an action in an unsure way. For example, I hesitantly typed the message. Or, I spoke hesitantly at first. Now let's connect this word to common expressions. One very common phrase is without hesitation. This means you do something immediately, with no pause, no doubt. In our story, we can use it in a contrast. I can say, I didn't call without hesitation. I paused and thought. Or I can imagine the opposite. If I felt very confident, I would call without hesitation. This phrase is common in everyday speech and also in writing. Another useful phrase is with hesitation. This is the opposite. It means you do something, but you do it slowly or carefully because you are not fully sure. In the story, with hesitation, I sent the message. That means I sent it, but I did not feel completely comfortable. You can also hear people say, I hesitate to say this, but this is a polite phrase used before saying something that might feel uncomfortable. It does not mean you stop completely. It shows caution. In the story, I could say, I hesitated to say this, but I need 2 days off next week. That sounds natural, especially in a work situation. Another very common structure is don't hesitate to plus verb. This is used when you want to give permission in a calm, polite way. For example, my manager could say, don't hesitate to call me if you need to talk. In our story, it fits the same situation and the same people. It is not a strong phrase. It feels normal and respectful. We should also mention a close partner word that often appears with hesitate, second thoughts. When you have second thoughts, you start to doubt a decision you were about to make. It often leads to hesitation. In the story, I can say, I had second thoughts, so I hesitated before I called. This is a common, simple expression in daily English. Now, let's make sure you can use this word by staying inside the same story. I hesitated before I pressed the call button. I hesitated to call my manager. I felt hesitation when I looked at the screen. I was hesitant to send the message. I typed the message hesitantly. Finally, I called, but not without hesitation. If you can say these sentences, you can use the word in real life. Now we do shadowing. Listen and repeat out loud, immediately after me. Don't think, just copy. Sentence 1. I hesitated before I called my manager. Sentence 2. I hesitated for a second, then I sent the message. Sentence 3. I was hesitant, but I called anyway. Again, a little faster. I hesitated before I called my manager. I hesitated for a second, then I sent the message. I was hesitant, but I called anyway. Good. When you repeat like this, the word starts to feel normal in your mouth, like a word you already know. Now let's stay with the feeling behind this word, quietly. Hesitate is a word that exists because human life is full of small moments before action. Sometimes the action is simple, like sending a message. Sometimes it is a little more personal, like asking for time off. The moment is not always big, but it is real. It is that small space between wanting to do something and not being fully sure. In that space, people often feel many things at once. They may feel nervous because they care about the result. They may feel unsure because they do not know the other person's reaction. They may feel protective of themselves because they do not want to look weak or difficult. They may also feel responsible because their choice can affect work, money, or relationships. Hesitation can be quiet. From the outside, it may look like nothing. A person just looks at a phone or pauses before they speak. But inside, the mind can move quickly. People replay the words they want to say. They imagine different answers. They remember past situations. They measure the risk, even if the risk is small. This is why hesitate is such a useful word. It names a small human moment that almost everyone knows. A short pause, a stopped thumb, a message typed and erased, a breath taken before a call. In the story, my hesitation did not last long, but it was still hesitation. It showed that I cared, and that I felt uncertain, even about something normal. And when the call finally started, the hesitation did not disappear in 1 second. It became quieter, but it was still there in my voice at first. That is also part of this word. Hesitation is not only about the action, it can also live in your tone, in your timing, and in the way you choose your words. Remember today's word. Hesitate. Pause before you do something because you are not sure. This is One Story, One Word. See you in the next video.